until I get what I came for. How do I stop this?
You got away. You left it behind in hell.
Hey guys, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we are talking about Hellblade 2. But before we get into it, guys, I'm Fossil21. I love playing games and I love making videos. So if you guys enjoy the content, be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I have been pretty mixed on this game. I feel like this is one of those games that it's like, it was good or I enjoyed it, but like there's just a big but behind a lot of this here, at least in my opinion, because I did thoroughly enjoy the first game. You guys are more than welcome to see that on my channel, and I was very positive about it. And with this one, I don't know if it was just my expectations or what it was, but I just expected more from this sequel, from Hellblade 2. I know that Xbox had bought in the studio, and maybe I was just thinking that they would have more, more support, more backing to them so that they can make a bigger and grander game. And it's like, they did in certain aspects, but then didn't in others. Like the visuals and the graphics and everything like that is just visually very impressive. I think it looks incredible. I love the visuals. But in like some of the other side, it's like they just really didn't do much with like the gameplay. Anyways, so we're going to start off by talking about some of the things that I really did enjoy about the game, and then we'll get into some of the cons in more specifics here. So first off, I thought that the story was very good. I loved the story with the giants and how she learns the names and how to take them out. I also loved how the story was told, if that makes sense. Like, 'cause sometimes you have like a really good story, and if it's just not told very well or whatnot, it's not super good. But I just loved how they told the story through the voices, through all these different characters, and then even through the giants. And so I just loved how the story was told. I think it was very excellent, very well done. I enjoyed all of the new characters. Unlike the first game where it's just mainly Senua, this one has a few different characters. I don't remember how to say any of their names, so I did enjoy the new characters. I thought all of the voice acting and the motion capture, all that stuff was very well done. Like I said, I also thought that the game looked visually really impressive. All of the visuals and the graphics just looked amazing. I did play the game on my Xbox Series S, and even on the S, it still looked really good. It's not quite as good as it would be on the Series X or PC, but even for the Xbox Series S, I was still very impressed of how well it ran, even on the weaker hardware. And even along with like the visuals and the graphics, there was plenty of times where I didn't even realize that it switched from cutscene to gameplay, and I'm just like sitting there waiting for something to happen, not realizing that like, oh crap, I'm actually supposed to do something here, because it was just flawless on how the cutscenes looked and how the gameplay was. So it was, like I said, visually very impressive. I also really enjoyed the audio design. All of the sounds that are made, all of the different creatures and the enemies that you fight, the voices in your head, everything just sounded really crisp and clean, and it just sounded really cool, to be honest. Really enjoyed the audio design, as well as the music. The music here was actually really good. Anytime you get into a combat encounter, I loved all of the intense music, and when you're fighting the giants, everything was just super epic and intense, and I really enjoyed it. And that's kind of it for the things that I really liked. Like I said, graphics were really good, visuals, all that stuff just looked incredible. I love the environments, like as you're walking around through this new world that Senua is in. Everything just looks incredible. I love all of the different vistas and views. Everything looked incredible. And now moving on to some of the things that I just didn't quite like. I don't think I really, let me preface by, I don't think I really hated anything in this game. I would just say that I was more, I don't know, just like disappointed, I guess is a good word to say. I was just expecting so much more. As I said earlier, I just was hoping that because they're now an Xbox first-party studio, that they would receive more money, more backing, more support, all that kind of stuff. And it just seemed like that they just took all that and injected it straight into visuals and motion capture and all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, it looks incredible, but now for some of the cons are just stuff that isn't necessarily bad, but it's just the same as the first game, and in some instances even less so. So first off, the gameplay. That's the big hitter right there. For me personally, I have always said gameplay is king, and if I'm going to be frank, there's just not a whole lot of gameplay. There's not a whole lot of combat encounters. Like, there are few, and the times that you do enter these combat encounters, I generally actually really liked them, even though the combat is very simple with your light and heavy attacks, but I enjoyed those small encounters. There just weren't very many, and the ones that you do encounter, they start to get very repetitive after a while, after you've seen all of the different enemies. There's not very many different enemy types, and so you run into some very repetitive combat encounters fairly quickly. And then, just like I said, the gameplay itself is kind of non-existent. You mainly just hold forward and sprint, and that's what I did for the vast majority of the gameplay. As you're going between areas and you're talking to these different characters, getting these dialogue conversations going, you're just holding forward. And so I held the sprint button too, so I can get through it just a little bit faster because the walk was so dang slow. But yeah, it's very, very boring, if I'm going to be honest. I don't mind like all the talking and like getting more of dialogue of what's happening in this world, but it's just like you were just basically holding forward. Also, this game does have less puzzles this time around. I haven't played the first game in a while, and I very well could be looking back at this game with rose-tinted glasses, but I do remember the first game having more puzzles, and they were a bit more challenging. This one has way less puzzles this time around. They do have a little bit different variety, so there's a few different types of puzzles. You got your first ones from the first game where you're trying to find a certain shape. You can also find like these different stones, and you're placing them in the holders and changing the world, lighting these different torches and whatnot. So it's like they do have more puzzles, but they were like super less. Like, I felt like there was less puzzles here, and they were all super easy. I don't think I got stuck on any of these puzzles. Like, there was one that I was stuck on for maybe a few minutes, but nothing to where I was just like scratching my head trying to figure out what to do. As in the first game, there's a few puzzles that I do remember being stuck on for quite some time. As far as the game length, I know a lot of people have been complaining about how long it is, saying it's like 4 or 5 hours long. I just played at a normal pace. I wasn't looking anything up or doing anything like that, no speed running the game, and it took me a little over 8 hours. It's about 8 hours and 23 minutes is what I ended the game on. My issue here is when people say that, oh, it's short, and then they start comparing like other games like Rift Apart, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and some of these other games that are just incredibly short. The issue is that Hellblade is short, but it has like no replay value to it. Whereas in like when I do think about Ratchet & Clank, yeah, the gameplay, like you can blast through the campaign, but there's so much stuff that you can do after you beat the game. The gameplay itself is really fun. Whereas in here, it's like you beat the game and you have the totem poles to go back and look for. So it's not quite as fun. Most of the gameplay, you're just holding forward and sprinting. That's a con for me. No replay value. I did try to play this game on my PC. I don't have like anything crazy. I just have a gaming laptop that does have a fairly decent graphics card and everything, but for some reason I just could not get the game to launch. And the few times that I did get it to actually work, within 5 minutes of the game running, it just would crash. I looked up a bunch of different videos on how to fix this issue, and I tried a few different YouTube videos, but nothing actually fixed the issue. So I don't know if it's just my specs specifically, but I just could not get the game to work. Moving into my final thoughts, guys. Overall, I thought the game had incredible visuals, graphics, story. All that stuff was very well done. All the voice acting was very well done. All of the motion capture was amazing. They're all incredible. I loved it. The things that just really tanked this game for me is just the gameplay is just definitely took a backseat for me. You barely did anything. The few combat encounters that you did have, although I did enjoy them, they just were very few and far between, and then got very repetitive. Fewer puzzles, no real replayability here. And with that, guys, I'm going to give Hellblade 2 a 7 out of 10. I initially was going to go a little bit lower, but looking at some of the stuff that they really did do, like the story I thought was good and how they told the story, it's just, man, gameplay is king for me, and if the gameplay sucks, then it just makes it really hard to recommend this to other people and to play. It's a game. You play games, and this one you don't really play. You kind of sit and watch for, I would say, 70% of it. I don't think that they did necessarily anything bad. It's just I just had higher expectations for this game going in. The first game I really enjoyed. You can check it out on my channel. I don't know, maybe I was just expecting more, and I more or less got the same game, just it looks prettier. So, which isn't anything bad. I just was hoping for it to be, I don't know, bigger and better than the first game, and it just was kind of more or less the same. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys thought of Hellblade 2. Yeah, that's going to be it, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.